Hey guys, JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting, coming to you today with the next session in the Alpha Wolf Personal Development and Expansion series. And this session is going to be all about understanding belief and sort of how we use belief to create truth within our own life and sort of understanding not only the power of belief, but how we can use belief to achieve our goals in life in terms of, if I say I want to achieve a fitness goal and I say I want to lose weight, and let's say I am morbidly obese. Okay. Right now, in the moment that I set that goal, I cannot see or feel or believe that this is something that is able to sort of occur, that I'm able to do this. So everything in my external environment will be telling me this is an impossible feat to, for so to speak, get into the best health, shape of my life and health of my life if I'm currently morbidly obese. And we're not pointing fingers or throwing stones at anyone, but it's just when I'm at my rock bottom in whatever I want to do in life, i.e., when I'm just starting out and I've never done this before, or I haven't done this in a very long time, everything in my environment will be telling me that this is not a possible goal. So, the important aspect is to understand how we have to push through all of the negative external sort of indicators that will be and sort of understand and visualize and see the goal or the result that we want in life. And then we have to just focus in on that, that goal as being a possibility, and then sort of create the stories and the narratives and the language patterns and the beliefs that are going to supercharge us and get us there. So, a thing to understand is that even if, and we're going to stick on the same analogy or the same example of being morbidly obese, because we say morbidly obese because that indicates that we are at the bottom of a very, very large mountain that we have to climb. Okay, so it doesn't mean that it only works or is only applicable to these situations. Like we could be in quite good shape and we want to get into the best shape of our life. Do you know what I mean? But for this example, we're going to use morbidly obese. So we are starting, so to speak, to visualize it would be at the bottom of Mount Everest, and we have to climb up Mount Everest. I cannot see the peak of Mount Everest, but I have to know that it is there for me to be willing to climb. Do you know what I mean? So, in anything that we're trying to achieve in life, I have to know the result I want is out there. I can achieve anything that I set my mind to or I put my mind to. I can do anything in life, and I have to focus in on that and understand it as being true to me, regardless of the external environment, i.e., regardless of the weather, regardless of if there's storms, regardless of the terrain. I know if I'm at the bottom of Mount Everest, I can reach the top. Do you know what I mean? And it's not to say that it's not going to be difficult. It's not to say it's not going to be hard. But what we have to do is understand what we want to see in life, or what we see in life as being what I desire, and sort of how do I move towards it. So a very important thing to understand is that we have to use self-validation with our belief practices. Okay, so when we're trying to build the self-belief to keep climbing, even though I'm exhausted, to keep climbing, even though the weather may have turned against me and all of that, to keep pushing through. So how do we do that? And it's through like repetition and reinforcement. So we keep reinforcing the top of the mountain is there. I am able to get there. If I was, for example, if we were morbidly obese and we were trying to, get into the best shape of our life, it's seeing like we can get into the best shape of our life, seeing ourselves in the best shape of our lives and reinforcing that every time we take the action that I am moving towards it, regardless of if I'm losing weight today or if I'm losing weight tomorrow. Do you sort of see? The results don't matter because the results are just external indicators of work done. So, in a lot of achievement and goal achievement and all of that, it does take a very, very long road before we start seeing results, so to speak. So, to give you a bit of an example, when I was walking across country, like the first day I walked 40 kilometers. Do you know what I mean? And I only just got to the next town. Do you sort of get it? Like it takes a lot of work. So what we have to understand and be able to do is create a map, a roadmap of our path to our goal. And it's not to say that it's set in stone. We just know the direction of travel we want to take in whatever we are trying to do. And then every day we just move down towards it. Do you sort of get it? It's very important to get because the map or the path is not important. Movement towards the goal. So the map or the path is an indicator of movement towards a goal or direction of travel towards a goal, i.e., if I'm morbidly obese and I am trying to get into the best health and shape of my life, eating at McDonald's probably isn't going to be the direction of travel that gets me there. Do you know what I mean? I could sit there and argue and say, but skinny people eat at McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? Other people who look healthy eat at McDonald's, but I know in my heart and within myself that that kind of food does not lead to health. Do you know what I mean? So it's understanding that the path I've set out, okay, isn't indicative of this is the only way to do it, but it's just I understand what moves me towards my goal and what moves me further away. And in any goal achievement, when we're starting out and we're doing something we've never done before, we have to map and chart that terrain. We have to create that path, create that map. So, an important thing to realize is that while we can, follow others who have done things that we want to do you know what I mean? For example, when I walked across country, like I imitated or replicated what the military would do. Do you sort of get it? The military do long distance marches. They try and march at a set pace of around 6 kilometers an hour, roughly. Do you know what I mean? They take specific types of food like MREs, dried food that you add water to and then cook. Like, do you know what I mean? So I didn't have steak with me. I didn't have vegetables with me. I didn't have fruits with me. I just replicated how it would be in the military and created the conditions based off of that. Do you know what I mean? So it's not to say that we're going out there and trying to redefine or recreate, the way. It's just we can use how other people do it. But I didn't have to go out there and buy MREs. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have to go out there and buy, you know, the exact boots that the military used. I did it in old trainers. Do you know what I mean? It's a very important thing because we realize that a lot of the times, for example, if we jump back onto being morbidly obese and trying to get into the best shape and health of your life, we can sit there and think, oh, what are the bodybuilders doing? What are these dietitians, these experts in diet, blah, 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 doing? Do you know what I mean? And we can try and structure our diet around that, where they say that you should be in a deficit of your macros or whatever. Like, you should only be eating small meals. Like that's stupid. Do you know what I mean? So, like, yes, you should limit your meals. Yes, you should alter your diet, but it shouldn't be based off what someone who's 60 kilos says. So, like, for example, if you were 300 kilos and I'm 60 kilos, is my diet going to sustain you? Do you sort of get it? So it's about altering the sort of path that someone else may have created and altering it to you, to your situation, to your circumstances. For example, if you're 300 kilos, are you going to be able to run 20 kilometers? Do you know what I mean? Are you going to be able to walk 50 kilometers? Like, so we're not trying to sort of copy and paste what other people do to get the results that they get. What we're doing is looking at how they do it, and then we're applying that to our circumstance, our situation. For example, if you have a bad back, if you have bad knees, do you know what I mean? Walking on uneven ground, uneven terrain is probably not the best thing to do. I personally believe it's the best exercise, but I don't have back pain. I have limited knee pain. Do you know what I mean? So it's very important that we understand this, that we're with the path that we create, okay, because we all have to create our own path to the goal achievement or the success that we want in life, whatever it may be. So we all have to create our own path. So what that means is I can model my path based on someone who's already walked a similar path, or I can go out there and explore and create it for myself. And that's one of the things is that it's not one or the other, it's a mixture of both because we need to be able to sort of compare, well, not so much compare, but we need to be able to assess the momentum that we're getting based on other people. So we need data from other people, i.e., if someone was 300 kilos and they went on a weight loss journey and they lost 200 and let's say 20 kilos. Do you know what I mean? Like, what did that look like for them? What did they do? Because it's a similar path, and we're able to see, well, what can I roughly expect if I were to do the same as that person? What kind of results would I be getting? Do you sort of see? So what we're doing is we're creating this understanding of having contrast or having things to be able to compare to see that, well, they lost, let's say, 10 kilos a week, and I'm losing about 8 kilos a week. So it's not bad if they're losing 10 kilos a week and I'm losing 1 kilo a week. Okay, what's going on? What's the difference? Do you sort of get it? And we're just comparing and we're assessing variables. So to jump onto different sort of goal achievements, what we need to understand is how our thoughts create our beliefs, how our beliefs then create our truths. So, for example, we might have a thought that if I take consistent action every day towards my goals, I will achieve my goals. Okay. So if we say that once, it's a thought or a language pattern. Do you sort of get it? It's not a belief because I don't have any personal connection to it to create the belief. So when we're talking about belief, belief is the language pattern on repeat so much that it is ingrained within my mind. And then what I'm doing is assigning meaning to that belief or to that language pattern. And then I'm assigning associated memory. Do you sort of get it? So the important thing is that with that language, if I take consistent action towards my goal every day, I will achieve my goal. So now we're assigning meaning. What does that mean? What does consistent action mean? And what does achieving my goal mean? I.e., why? Do you sort of get it? Like, what is the why behind consistent action? What is the why behind achieving a goal? Like, why are those words important? Do you sort of get it? So we're creating and structuring our belief by understanding why this is important for me. Do you sort of get it? So, so why take consistent action? Like, what does that mean, consistent action? Do you know what I mean? If I were to do 5 or 10 push-ups every day, like I'm going to get stronger. Do you sort of get it? I understand why consistent action works. I understand why consistent action has meaning. If I take consistent action, I incrementally improve and I get better and better results every time. The more fluent I become in what I'm doing, the easier it becomes to do. These are the meanings that I have personally assigned to that. Do you sort of understand? So it's just we're creating the structure for our beliefs around having multiple meanings or multiple ways that we explain it to ourselves to the relevance and importance. So, for example, if my belief is taking consistent action every day towards my goal will help me achieve my goal or will have me achieve my goal, because we don't really want to use sort of timid language. Okay. So when we're creating our beliefs and creating our language, we really want to use very certain terminology. Okay. So, like, if I take consistent action every day, I will get the result. Not I may get the result. Because we don't want to create doubt, because doubt is simply there could be a different way. Do you know what I mean? So what we want to do is we want to create certainty within the language or the structure. And this is why it's important in beliefs. Okay? Because if I have a belief that's set in doubt, that means there could potentially be another belief that is true, and this one could be false. So I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out, so to speak. Does that make sense? So it's very important that we have this is the only way. We can have as many beliefs as we want to have, but each belief is fact within itself. And it's not about being right. I'm being right to me. I don't really care if it's right to the external environment. It doesn't matter. If I'm trying to be right, I have to know for a fact before I can speak. Do you know what I mean? So, like, for example, if we're doing things that we have never done before, there is no such thing as being right because we are on an exploration of discovery. Do you sort of get it? We're finding out and figuring out what is right. So it's sort of like, should I be lost in the wilderness and I say south is the direction of travel that will get me to safety? And I decide, that is the direction I'm going to travel. I'm not putting down saying it may be north. Now, if I walk 5 kilometers south and then I see a sign that says the next town is 30 kilometers north or 300 kilometers south, well, then I can change my mind and go, oh, well, I would actually go north. It's easier. Do you know what I mean? So it's not about being right when we have no understanding. It's about picking a direction and traveling. And if I see information or I see sort of data that says there is a better way, I change it, but I don't say that there could be three or four better ways. Like I can only pick one. So whatever I pick in terms of I can pick as many as I want, but I can only pick one at a time, which means I can't believe that the sky is green and blue at the same time. Do you sort of get it? It has to be one or the other. Now, I could have issues with my color perception, and some days I see it as blue, some days I see it as green. Who knows? But what we can't do is have multiple different competing beliefs at the same time. We have to pick one belief, and that belief is our truth. Do you sort of get it? So we can have as many truths as we want, but at any point in time, whatever we are doing, we can only pick one because I can't act on three. Why? Because it creates division within me and indecision. Being decisive is just limiting your options. So, for example, if we take that same analogy of being lost in the wilderness and I come upon the sign, there could be five different signs there. So one could say that, southwest is 200 kilometers. One could say west is 78 kilometers. One could say east is 93 kilometers to the next town. Like, it's not saying that there is only one way to travel, but whichever one I pick is the one I pick. Do you sort of get it? So, for example, like in goal achievement, there are 1,000 to 1,000,000 ways to achieve the same goal. We can do it in any way that we want, but whichever one I pick as being my path becomes my path. I am free to change my path, but I am not allowed to consider or try to walk multiple paths simultaneously. Meaning, whatever strategy, whatever, you know, direction I choose to travel in towards my goal, however I decide to do it, I walk it. If I decide I want to change, so like for example, we'll use marketing. Okay, whatever strategy I create and decide is my marketing strategy, I run it. And I say, this is the best strategy. This is the strategy I'm going to run. I don't care about any other strategy. Now, should someone come up to me and show and demonstrate a better strategy, I'm free to change. Do you sort of get it? But I'm not free to change and then try and do both because it's ineffective, inefficient. So what we want to do is we want to limit the sort of, so to speak, the directions or the paths towards our goal, the beliefs that we hold in the moment. We can hold 1,000 beliefs within ourselves, but only one can be present in the moment. I can't believe that, for example, aliens exist and they don't exist at the same time. Like it's illogical. Do you sort of get it? Have you ever noticed those people in life? Really indecisive people that say up is up and down is down. But they also say up can be down and down can be up. Do you know what I mean? Like, so to speak, in life, in the universe, there is no such thing as up. It's all about perspective. If I'm on the bottom of the earth looking up, am I looking up or down? If I'm on the top of the earth and I'm looking up, am I looking up or down? Do you sort of get it? To me, both situations, I'm looking up. But if you were to look at it through this perspective of seeing both simultaneously, one's looking up and one's looking down. Do you sort of get it? So it's all about the perspective. I can't hold two competing perspectives and try and say that I'm looking up and down simultaneously. It doesn't work like that. So I pick one and I decide when I look up and I see the sky, that's looking up. When I look down and I see the ground, that's looking down. Even if someone can argue that I'm actually looking, when I look at the sky, I'm looking down, and when I look at the ground, I'm looking up. I live on the southern hemisphere. You could argue that. Do you sort of get it? What are we looking for? Are we looking at true north? Because if we're looking at true north, well then, do you know what I mean? I would be have to be in the northern hemisphere to be looking up. You sort of get it? So an important thing to realize is that we're not trying to be right. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. I'm trying to become decisive, i.e., when I look at the sky, I know the sky is blue. If the sky is covered in clouds, I still know it's blue. I'm not trying to be right based on the environment. Do you sort of get it? So, for example, if I decide in the analogy where we're at the crossroads and there's multiple different signs to all the different towns and we're trying to find it, I pick the one that I'm willing to travel or that I want to travel. And then that becomes my path. It doesn't mean that I have to stay on that path, but that's the path. I'm not sitting there constantly going, oh, well, it would have been shorter to go this way. It would have been shorter to go that way. I should go this way. I should go that way. I don't think this path is the right path. Do you sort of get it? So when we're moving towards our goals in life, we pick a direction. We pick a strategy. We pick the way that we want to walk. We pick how we want to walk. We pick everything. And we just decide on what we've decided on. And then we limit every other option. It doesn't matter. I.e., in my own business, I have my way of doing marketing. I don't give a fuck if it's effective or if it's not. I personally have a personal bias and a thesis that it is more effective. It doesn't matter what the external results say, this is the path I've chosen. Now, if someone can, show me a better way, i.e., if someone actually can demonstrate and prove why their way would be more effective than my way, I would be willing to consider. But it's a very hard sell because I'm not trying to be right. Do you sort of get it? So while I could consider it, I would rather walk the path and be wrong than become indecisive. Do you sort of get it? Indecision kills dreams because that's when we don't know what's what. Which way do we go? What do we want? Do you sort of get it? We just pick a path, and even if my path has a brick wall in front of it, I'm just going to headbutt my way through the brick wall. I don't care if I'm headbutting a brick wall. Do you sort of get it? I'm not looking for all the unlocked doors in life. I've chosen my path, and if it's a fucking mountain, I'll headbutt my way through a mountain if need be. Do you sort of get it? It's going to be painful. It's going to be difficult, but I don't really care. I've made my decision. This is the path I'm walking. I'm going through it. Do you sort of get it? I can sit there and say, I'm looking for the best approach and all of this, and sort of keep all these different competing beliefs happening or competing sort of paths. But if every time so like what I've realized is if I do that, every time I feel resistance, instead of pushing forward, I scurry and look for a way around it. Think about that. If we were walking across country and every time I felt pain in my legs, pain in my muscles, resistance, I didn't want to move forward, what would happen? I would become immobile. Do you sort of get it? We condition ourselves through behavioral conditioning to whatever I do on repeat becomes my default or conditioned behavioral response. I.e., if every time I feel resistance, I look for an easier way, my brain becomes hyper aware to resistance. And at the slightest smell of resistance, this isn't the right path to go. I must find another path. Do you know what I mean? So what we realize is that what we're doing is we're conditioning our brain to not fear resistance, but to push through resistance. Do you know what I mean? Should I realize that, for example, the path I'm walking isn't the right path, that there's a ravine, that there's severely dangerous terrain, that there is no path, I am able to change my path. Do you know what I mean? But at a certain point in time, like we just got to make the decision, like, why am I walking the path? Do you sort of get it? So that's associating the meaning to the belief. Why am I walking the path? Am I walking the path for comfort? Am I walking the path for ease? Am I walking the path because it's the shortest path to my destination? Am I walking the path because it's the path I want to walk? Like, why? Do you sort of get it? So, with our beliefs, if I want to create belief within myself, self belief, why am I creating self belief? Do you sort of get it? The associated meaning is what creates the motivation, the momentum. If I understand why I'm walking north because it's the shortest path to my destination of reaching civilization and survival, then if the terrain gets more difficult and those thoughts about I could have gone west, I don't care. This is the shortest path, even if I have to go through more difficult terrain. Do you sort of get it? Understanding the why adds the power to the belief. So the meaning adds the power to the belief. Do you sort of get it? Like, why is the sky blue? Because it's blue. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sitting there saying, oh, it could be, you know, like it is blue. Do you sort of get it? Like we can go into the why of it being blue, where it's, you know, the diffracted light and all of that coming through the ozone layer and things like that. Who knows? But the thing is the sky is blue. Why? Because it is. Like it doesn't, like, I don't need to discuss or try to change that. So when the sky is covered in clouds, I don't say the sky is grey or the sky is white. The sky is blue, the clouds are white, the clouds are grey. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to change my belief just because my external environment says that it's different. So, why in goal achievement? So, in whatever goal we're trying to achieve, why am I trying to achieve it? What am I trying to achieve? Why is this important to me? Why am I doing it this way? Why is doing it this way important to me? Do you sort of get it? I.e., for me personally, in my content creation, the reason I don't give a fuck about what anyone else says about marketing and all this is because I'm not trying to create a job. I am trying to monetize my life. Do you sort of get it? I don't care if adding effects to videos makes them more popular. I don't care if cutting up videos into these little bite-sized chunks and blah, blah, blah. I don't care if structuring the language and writing scripts for it makes for it. I don't care. I don't want a fucking job, i.e., if I don't feel like doing videography and video editing, like I don't want to have to do it because it's the way that everyone says it has to be done. I would rather put up a video raw and not stress. Do you sort of get it? Like, I would rather do something my way than do it the way that everyone else says you have to do it to be able to succeed. I don't care because I'm not trying to create a job as a videographer. I'm not trying to create a job as a TV presenter. I'm not trying to create a job. I'm doing what I enjoy, how I enjoy it, for my enjoyment. Do you sort of get it? I don't care if there's a better way. It's irrelevant if there's a better way. It's irrelevant if some expert thinks that they know all the hack. I don't care. I don't want your job. Do you sort of get it? Like, why are we doing it? Why are we moving towards the goals? I have heaps of friends who've created amazing jobs for themselves in their businesses. I don't want that. I don't want to have to wake up in the morning and then have to get onto the phone and have to do client outreach and have to do this and that. Like, I want to be free to live and experience life because the end of my life is my death. I don't give a fuck about having a great job while I'm alive. I give a fuck about experiencing life on the terms that I want. I want freedom, not money. Do you sort of get it? A lot of people say you can buy freedom, but I don't believe them. Freedom is earned through the willingness to sacrifice all that others have to follow what you want. Do you sort of get it? I don't give a fuck what they have. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? So I do things how I want to do them for my enjoyment. And it's irrelevant if I'm right or if I'm wrong. It doesn't matter. If I'm not enjoying myself in the actions and activities that I do every day of my life, am I living a good life? I can tell you the answer, and the answer is no. If I'm not fulfilled in my actions, if I do not enjoy my actions, no amount of money can change that. Because all these people who think that money can change it have in their mind, once I reach a certain amount of money, then I don't have to do this anymore. You never had to do it. You just had to be willing to sacrifice. That's it. Do you sort of get it? Sacrifice your diet. Sacrifice all those wants and needs that you think you have in life. That's it. Do you sort of get it? I've lived the life of following the money, thinking that the money would lead to freedom. The money only led to slavery. Why? Because I became dependent on the money. As your income increases, your liabilities and expenses also increase. Very few can lower their liabilities while increasing their income. Do you sort of get it? The more money I make, the more expensive life becomes for me. Like, what do you think? For example, in Australia, there are so many people who earn over $100,000 a year. And I used to, when I worked in property, I used to talk to all these first home buyers who were looking to buy a house. And they earn so much money. But either their debts would reflect the income, i.e., if they earn $150,000 a year, they would have between $50,000 to $100,000 of debt between cars, credit cards, personal loans, and all of this, or their expenses on a weekly base would match to a T, give or take $100 or $200, the income that they earn. So if they earn 100 grand a year, they spend $30,000 on food and eating out. Do you know what I mean? They spend $20,000 to $30,000 on drinking and going out to, nightclubs and bars or whatever. They spend so much money on cars, on fuel, on all of this, on clothes. Do you sort of get it? On gambling? So you ask yourself, why does that happen? Money creates freedom. Do you sort of get it? Money's a resource. It can create freedom, but the freedom has to be first created in your mind. And then there was other people I would talk to in the property who didn't earn that much, but they had massive savings. They had no debt. Do you know what I mean? They sacrificed the small comforts of today for the future that they wanted. Do you sort of get it? It wasn't money that created it, it was mindset. It was understanding what they wanted in life and why they wanted it. So we're just understanding goal achievement. If your goal in life is to find freedom, to become free, to live free, what do you need to do that? Be honest with yourself. Do you know what I mean? Don't get into the illusion that if I earn more money, it's going to lead to me becoming free. It doesn't work like that. Because to earn more money, we have to do more things. And we have to keep doing more things, keep doing more things, keep doing more things. I.e., if you start a business and you think that a business is going to make you all this money, like it will. But you also have to give it 80% of your waking time. You sort of get it? Like, that's life. Do you know what I mean? So the thing is you can make massive wealth, but it's not this idea that I'm going to make $1 million and then be able to just live and be who I want to be in life. It doesn't work like that for the majority of people because the money isn't the factor that creates freedom. It's the mindset to be free. Do you know what I mean? So you got to understand with our beliefs, because these are just beliefs I've told you, through understanding associated meaning and past experience or associated memory. So, memory of talking to people, of meeting people, and observing the differences in their situations and how they are and how they were. Do you know what I mean? So, it's the associated meaning and the memory that we put to the belief that adds the power behind it. That's why I don't think money is the end goal. Not to say it's not useful, not to say it's not necessary in life, but to say that it is not the answer that you seek. If it was the answer you seek, work a job and spend all your money on lottery tickets. Because you don't want to do the work for the money, you just want the money, so just gamble. Do you know what I mean? Statistically, if you gamble every day of your life for your whole life, you will win a major jackpot. Mathematically, you'll probably spend 2 to 3 times the amount that you win trying to win it. Do you sort of get it? That was a real fun thing I did in one of my accounting courses, having to work out oh no, it was a statistics course at uni, but it was working out the probability and likelihood that you would win a major jackpot and how much it would cost, and then quantifying it. So you can win money if you spend money. Do you sort of get it? Like, is it just money that you're after, or is there more to it? Do you know what I mean? Is it how you make the money? Is it what you do with your time when you're not making money? Is it like, what is it? Like, why is it important to you? What are you looking for in life? Become really, really clear on that. I.e., for me, I used to think it was money because I associated money with freedom. So every waking moment, I would spend working, making money. Downside was I didn't enjoy the work I did. I didn't have balance in my life. I didn't have quality of life. I sacrificed everything that gave quality to my life in the pursuit of making money. So what happened? I drank, I smoked, I did drugs. Like, Do you sort of get it? Like I did everything I needed to do to soothe myself because how I was living was detrimental to my true desires. Do you sort of get it? So in your goal achievement, when we're creating the beliefs, what are the beliefs? Why are they important? How do you know they're important? So experiential data. Do you know what I mean? Past memory, past experiences. Like I know for a fact, chasing money, it's not the path for me. Not to say it's not the path for other people. I think many times how much easier my life would be if I just chased money. Do you know what I mean? But then I remember how expensive my life became when I only chased money, how miserable my life became. Do you sort of get it? Like, I know this to be true. Doesn't mean it's true for everyone. For me, it's true. So I don't need to question it anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's not that I don't pursue money, it's that money is not the primary pursuit, it's a secondary, a byproduct of my primary pursuit. My primary pursuit is to share knowledge, to share wisdom, to share information, to create content, to create value. Do you sort of get it? Money is not the important thing. For me, creating value and being of service is the important thing. Do you sort of get it? Even if I'm only of service to myself, I don't really mind. It doesn't matter. I'm not out looking for the external validation because the external validation is non-necessary. Do you sort of get it? When we learn how to validate ourselves. So, like, for example, I don't need people to tell me that what I think and feel is right. I know it's right within myself. Do you know what I mean? I don't need someone else to tell me. Like, I don't need someone to tell me how valuable my content is. I know it's valuable, even if no one else does. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Do you sort of get it? Like, I value it. I could give a fuck if other people value it. Like, it's not important. Do you sort of get it? I used to spend all of my time trying to get external validation and get other people to validate what I thought and believed before I would feel like it was right for me to think and believe it. You sort of get it? So we understand once we start validating ourselves, once we stop looking for external validation, external results, like, for example, I don't create content to get views. I create content with the intention to get views, but it's not the primary focus. The primary focus is the value that I create, is transcribing and recording information, knowledge, wisdom, like lessons, learnings, understandings. Do you sort of get it? Like, it's not to say that getting views isn't important to me. It's just not as important as sharing or transcribing or transferring knowledge. That's what's important. Do you sort of get it? Views are secondary. If it gets views, if it doesn't get views, who cares? Why? Because I'm not doing everything just to get the results today. I see the results in 10 years. Do you sort of get it? And I'm willing to sacrifice the next 10 years to get there. Do you sort of get it? I don't care if in the short term I'm getting beaten up. Do you know what I mean? So, like, to put it in military perspective, like, I am fighting each battle with how the war is going to look in 10 years in mind. I am not trying to win the battles today. I am structuring and setting everything up for when. Do you sort of get it? The balance of power shifts. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not reacting to the external environment. I'm constructing the external environment. And when enough momentum is behind me, then I strike. Do you sort of get it? It's very important to get because if I'm only ever doing things for today, it becomes very difficult for me to consistently take action towards them over a long period unless the external results are empowering me to do it. So, how we achieve goals without needing to see the results is I see the results in the long term. I see the end goal that I want to achieve, and I choose to ignore the relevance of today's results because today's results pale in comparison to the compounding of the results in 10 years. I.e., if I work out every day, I don't need to see weight loss today, muscle growth today, but I know in 3 years, if I work out every day, the results will compound at such a rate that any results I could have got today pale in comparison. So an easy way to see this is people who take steroids to build muscle. They just want to get the short-term results, but they don't realize building muscle isn't a physical thing, it's a mental thing. It's about the mindset. Do you sort of get it? That's why if you use steroids, yeah, you get really, really big while you're using steroids. And then as soon as you stop, you shrivel up like a prune. Trust me, I've seen them. You can see it. Have you ever noticed those guys? We used to call them chicken legs, big upper bodies, and they had these tiny little chicken legs. And it's sort of like this. This is how I used to put it to people. Why are you building muscle? Do you know what I mean? Are you building muscle to look good or are you building muscle to be competent and capable? I built muscle to fight. Do you sort of get it? Like, if I notice that your legs are the weakest part on your body, it doesn't matter how big you are, because all I have to do is strike there and I can undermine all of that muscle that you've got for show. Do you sort of get it? Like, you know what I mean? A lot of them would try and say, that their legs were strong and all of this and that they couldn't put on the muscle there. It was bullshit. They didn't train legs. They didn't train legs very hard. Like they didn't understand muscle development because it was all for show. They only wanted to develop the muscles that looked pretty to girls, that got them attention. Whereas I wanted to build the muscle in the areas where I could exert the most power, i.e., my legs. My whole goal building muscle was to develop muscle at 2 times the rate on my legs than my upper body. Why? Because of how everyone assesses fighting. Most people judge you based on your upper body and your capability of fighting, not on your lower body. I.e., you don't see the power in my legs. You don't see the strike that's about to come. You only see my upper body. Do you sort of get it? If I look weaker in my upper body than my lower body, you don't notice the strength in my lower body. You just see the perceived weakness in my upper body. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. So it's very important to understand this because if we are unable to see the future, if we are unwilling to sacrifice to get there, yeah, we can get short-term results, but they're not real. You know what I mean? I can artificially go out there and spend tens of thousands of dollars on marketing and boost all of my content and get all of these views, likes, subscribe, but it's not real. Do you know what I mean? Because the second I stop paying for the marketing, it all ends. Why? Because it's not real, it's not authentic. So, what I've learned is if people authentically follow you on social media, on YouTube, they will consume more of your content than if they find out about you through promotion. Why? Because you're not targeting the right people. You're bringing in all these shit people. So it's sort of like this. I'll give you an analogy from when I worked in the property, when I was selling first home buyers and my qualifying process. I didn't look to qualify people in, I looked to qualify people out. I had a bullshit test at the start, which was called the qualifying call. And that's where I put the pain on people, so to speak, where my whole thing was I'm assessing, am I willing to put up with your bullshit? Do I think you're honest and do I think you genuinely want what you say you want? Are you full of shit? If you're full of shit, I'm telling you to fuck off. I'm not dealing with you. Why? Because there was many other people who were doing that, who were trying to qualify people in, and it was shitter and shitter leads. And I noticed that within myself, that when I tried to justify why this person would be a good client, what happened? I had to deal with fucking idiots. I got sick of dealing with fucking idiots. So what I did, I started asking more direct, hard questions. I started really measuring and assessing if someone was telling me the truth or if they were just fucking blowing smoke up my ass. I stopped trying to sort of convince people of why this was a good idea. And I told them directly, if this is what you say you want, this is the idea, like this is the path for you. If you are just saying you want this because you think it's a good idea, this is not the path for you. I can get you your first home, but if you're not willing to do the work, it doesn't fucking matter. Do you sort of get it? Like, I can perform every day. Can you? When we are this blunt and honest with people and put people on the pressure, what happens is the people we're left with are really fun people to deal with. They're good people. It's easy. They want it. They understand it. They don't waste your time. I.e., I would tell people, like, I'm not going to sit there and call you. If you stop answering me, I'll just let you go as a lead. I don't care about money. I care about finding buyers to houses. Do you know what I mean? That was it. I found first home buyers and I ensured and guaranteed that the sort of, so to speak, that the deck was stacked in their favor. Do you know what I mean? Not to say we did anything unethical, but I will work and remain on everything and understand everything. Like I'm going to invest the time to understand all the banking regulations, all the land regulations, all of the building. And I am going to sit there and micromanage this process to make sure you get the best result. Do you sort of get it? Like, I'm not doing that for just anyone. So you have to be committed to this. Otherwise, someone else will take your place. Do you sort of get it? When we have that level of conviction and certainty within us, and we're not trying to justify why people's negative behavior is acceptable, what happens? They don't act negatively. Do you know what I mean? But the other thing you got to realize, and what I realized, today isn't everyone's day. Sometimes other things come up and people have their interests somewhere else. So we let them go. They can come back if they want. They can go through someone else if they want. Do you know what I mean? Someone might be wanting to buy a house and then all of a sudden they see a car that they like or a boat that they like that they want to buy more. So they buy the boat. Did they do anything wrong? No, they just now don't have the capacity to buy the house. Do you know what I mean? We let them go. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with it. If they want to come back in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, it's no problem. Like it's not ego based, but it's honesty. So what we got to understand is like in our personal belief, in our goal achievement, we got to see the long view. Do you know what I mean? We got to not give a fuck about the results. The results are pointless. The results are what people who only look at the short term view. Do you know what I mean? If I only take my actions because of the results I get, how convicted am I to taking those actions? Do you know what I mean? Once I decide on the actions I personally am going to take, like, I don't give a fuck. I just am going to keep taking them and I measure my performance in taking the actions. I don't care about the results. I care about my ability to perform. Do you know what I mean? We focus on the process, not the results, because the results are a result of the process. Do you sort of get it? The process isn't a result of um, the process isn't a result of the outcomes. The outcomes are a result of the process. Do you sort of get it? My process doesn't improve the more outcomes or the more results I get in performing it. My results or outcomes improve the more my process improves. Do you sort of get it? To improve my process without the results means I have to look further ahead. I have to play the long game because it takes a large investment. Do you sort of get it? It's very important to understand this. This is the process to doing it. So we're using our belief that if I say, for example, that I'm going to work out every day for the next 5 years to get into the best shape of my life, every day, I'm not looking at today. I'm not looking at tomorrow. I'm looking at 5 years down that track. I'm looking at the results I will be getting. I'm visualizing them. Do you sort of get it? Like every action I take with certainty, knowing the results are coming. The results are coming. Do you sort of get it? I know every action I take compounds regardless of if it takes me a month, regardless of if it takes me a year, regardless of if it takes me 10 years. Every action compounds, and as I move, I build momentum to be able to run through any brick wall. The more I headbutt the blockages and the roadblocks in my way, the easier it becomes to run through them. Do you sort of get it? At a certain point in time, after I've headbutt my way through 5 brick walls, it becomes easy to knock them down with one hit. So, like, i.e., assess martial arts. Do you know what I mean? How do they break with their hands, cinder blocks, and all of that, and concrete blocks, and even multiple concrete blocks? Every time I break the block down, it becomes easier and easier. And then I can stack 2 or 3 blocks. I can stack 4 or 5 blocks. Do you sort of get it? Every time I push through any resistance I feel, it becomes easier to push through resistance. And at the slightest smell of resistance, my energy electrifies. Do you sort of get it? When I try and avoid the resistance, at the slightest smell of resistance, I go into fear and I try and look for a way around. Do you know what I mean? With every roadblock or brick wall that I break through, I become electrified on the next one. My energy increases until running through brick walls is as effortless as breathing. Do you sort of get it? It doesn't matter about the results. It doesn't matter about the pain. It doesn't matter about the difficulty. If I understand that to be true, every time I run through a brick wall, it becomes effortless. And like me personally, like physically, I can break through a brick wall. All it takes is time. Do you know what I mean? I can put I can stack the deck in my favor, i.e., I can try and run through a brick wall just using my body, or I can pick up a sledgehammer and break through a brick wall. I am not limited to any limitations that the external environment sets. If they want to run through a brick wall just with their bare hands, by all means. Do not tell me I cannot pick up a sledgehammer and go to town. Do you sort of get it? There's nothing I can't break in this world. You give me enough time, I will find the exact thing to break down anything. Do you sort of get it? You put the hardest steel in front of me and build a wall with it, I will create thermite and I will come back and I will burn that fucker down. Do you sort of get it? Like, it doesn't diminish or lower me by using tools. Do you sort of get it? Like, I'm going to the other side of that wall. No matter what happens, that wall is either going to move or it will be moved, i.e., it will either cease to be and choose to move itself, or I will remove it from my path. No matter what happens, if it takes me a day, if it takes me a week, if it takes me a month, if it takes me a year, if it takes me 10 years, I don't care. I will sit there and hit a brick wall with a sledgehammer until that brick wall crumbles. Do you sort of get it? I'll hit a steel wall with a sledgehammer until it does. If that sledgehammer breaks, I'll go get another one. I'll come back and I'll continue. Do you sort of get it? I'm not looking for another path. Once I decide I'm taking down this wall will be broken. And you just got to understand, like, the only way we get to this is through conditioning. So we're turning the language pattern that we've said once into a belief that we've said 1,000 times, into a truth that we've said tens of thousands of times. Every time I feel resistance or I get a brick wall in front of me, I push through it. Every time I push through that resistance, I am building truth in my ability to push through it. Do you sort of see? It's very important to see. When we understand this, we really start to understand the momentum that as I run through what is perceived to be unbreakable brick walls, I gather energy and strength to move through the next one. And at a certain point in time, I will every blockage out of my way just at a glance, for that wall knows it does not hold a chance at stopping me. Do you sort of get it? And to understand this in physical terms, okay, those brick walls, being metaphors, are created by either other people or myself. The resistance I feel in life at a certain point, if I'm creating it for myself, every time I break through it, I, I really condition myself to take a second thought about creating resistance. Should other people try and put brick walls and walls up around me and try and box me in and stop me and slow me down and create resistance in my life, after the 10th, 12th, 13th, fucking 100th time of doing that and me busting through it, they will start to realize it is stupid to put up resistance in front of me because I'm not going to stop from it. Do you sort of get it? Like, the wall ceases to be put up because it's irrelevant to put it up there. It's not going to change the outcome. The outcome has been preconditioned by me and predisposed, and I've decided I'm going through everything, regardless. I can use my bare hands. I can use a screwdriver to break down a brick wall. Like, do you sort of get it? Like, I can use a stick to break down a brick wall. Like, seriously, it's not difficult. You just sit there and you have a stick and you rub through the concrete and then you remove the brick and then you move to the next one and then you remove the brick and then you move to the next. Like, it's not difficult. It would take me less than a day to remove a whole wall. Do you sort of get it? And at a certain point in time, you just alter the structural integrity of the building or the brick wall, and then you just use kinetic force to push it over. Not difficult. Seriously. Don't put brick walls in front of me. Because if they took you a lot of effort to build, you're going to be very, very upset when I effortlessly break them down. Because I don't care about your feelings. If you put resistance in front of me, even if it took you a lot to create that resistance, to try and create those beliefs of limitation for me, I am going to break them down effortlessly and not give a fuck about your feelings. Do you sort of get it? Don't put brick walls in front of me because you won't like the results you get. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to attack you because it's pointless to attack you. I'm just going to destroy the resistance, the barrier, the wall, the stupid belief you set on me. And then I'm just going to keep moving on with my life because I don't really give a fuck. Do you sort of get it? I.e., if you're an SEO marketer and you try to tell me how good SEO marketing is, I'm going to tell you you're full of fucking shit because you haven't done it yourself. I don't care if that hurts your feelings. I'm just going to move on with my life. Do you sort of get it? If you go out there and you do it for yourself and you come with some fucking data, i.e., if you're an SEO marketer and you do YouTube SEO, have a fucking channel of your own with original content and fucking show me some results or don't fucking talk to me. Do you get it? This is what I say to them. Because I don't care what you think all these brick walls mean. It doesn't mean the same thing to me. You think SEO marketing is important? Good for fucking you. I think it's pathetic. Do you get it? Why? Because I'm not going to pander to the algorithm thinking that I can get further ahead rather than just do the work. Do you know what I mean? Trust me, I talk to a lot of these people. They're fucking idiots. Why? Because none of them have a channel, and if they have a channel, it's just reproduction content. How could you ever know how to help me achieve my goals? You have nothing for me, for you do not do anything that I am doing. Why would I listen to you? Why? Do you sort of get it? So, for example, in your own life, in goal achievement, if people are talking shit to you who don't have and aren't doing what you are doing, fucking don't listen to them. Their opinion is bullshit. The brick walls that they put up, the resistance they create within your life about what you can and can't do is full of shit. I.e., I personally do not take health advice from people who are unhealthy. I do not take weight loss advice from people who are fat. I do not take bodybuilding and body development advice from people who do not have pristinely developed bodies, muscles, i.e., if you don't put in the work to develop your muscles and build the work and put in the work every fucking day, if you're doing an hour workout every day and not a 5 hour workout, I don't give a fuck what you think about building muscle. I don't care. I think you're full of shit. Do you know what I mean? If you're not following a diet and in the best health of your life, I think you're full of shit. I don't care what you have to say on it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I know more, but it's irrelevant. Evidently, you don't believe in what you say, or you would have the results you seek. Do you get it? I.e., SEO marketers. I don't believe in anything you say because if you knew SEO marketing, you would have a channel with hundreds of millions of people on it following it. You wouldn't need my money. Do you sort of get it? Like you're full of shit because you say you've got all this information, yet you don't move towards it. You don't go after what you want. You want me to pay you to fucking do nothing and be useless. I'm not going to do that. Do you sort of get it? Like, i.e., I'm not going to pay a personal trainer who looks like a bitch. I'm not paying a personal trainer who looks like they've been on steroids. I'm not paying a personal trainer who looks swole but has very piss poor muscle development. Muscle development is the definition of the muscle and the ability and the capability, i.e., if I watch you work out and you sit on Smith machines and the cable machines and you don't pick up free weights and you don't creatively add additional resistance to your workout, I think you're full of shit. I don't give a fuck how much you trained. I don't give a fuck how much knowledge and skills and how much information you've accrued. If you don't do it in your own life, I think you're full of shit. Do you sort of get it? It's why I only personally talk through experience because, like, I only talk about things I have done. Do you sort of get it? It doesn't really matter. I can sit there and recite fucking textbooks all I want. It doesn't really add any value. That's why I think most of the psychologists are full of shit. I think most of the personal development coaches are full of fucking shit because they don't live it every day. Do you sort of get it? And it's not to say that there's one way to live it, but it's living it within yourself, i.e., they would have more confidence if they did lived it, not arrogance. Do you know what I mean? Like when you talk on something you have never personally experienced, that's arrogance because you're talking out of your asshole. Do you sort of get it? You don't understand, you don't know. For example, I've been overweight. I've never been morbidly overweight. Do you sort of get it? If I tried to tell you the best workout and the best diet if you're morbidly obese, I've never done that. Do you sort of get it? Like, I don't understand it. I don't know your challenges. Do you know what I mean? I can tell you the diet I use, but I can't tell you the diet you should use. Yet a funny thing is all these fucking idiots that go to university for dietitians are very quick to tell you the diet you should use. Do you sort of get it? They're full of fucking shit. They're fucking idiots because they've never been there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for example, I'm never going to take my mum's advice on personal defense and self-defense. Do you know what I mean? It's never going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Because she doesn't understand it. Do you know what I mean? I'm never going to listen to a pacifist about the best way to defend yourself in a violent situation because a pacifist is full of fucking shit. They don't understand. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that violence is the answer. But if you walk up to me with a knife and you want to kill me, I already know how I'm going to really hurt you. Do you sort of get it? I don't need to listen to some other pacifist talk shit about how you should de-escalate the situation. Not you. If you come up to me, I'm going to grab my hand like this and I'm going to crush your nose into your brain. That's it. I don't care if I get stabbed. I don't care if I die. But I am going to crush your nose and I'm going to move that bone up into your brain. That's it. That's all. I don't care what happens, but I know that will happen. Do you sort of get it? Because that's the only path I'm following. I don't give a fuck about anything else. That's the only thing. I'm going to push under here and I'm going to yank that bitch up into your brain. I don't mind dying if I get to kill you. Do you sort of get it? It's very important to get. I'm not going to be sitting there trying to strategize, I'm just going to, as soon as I get the intention or understand your intentions, I'm viciously and violently going to break your nose and put that bone in your brain. That's it. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just life. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe I'm going to try and snap dislocate your knee. Maybe I'm going to kick you in the nuts. Like, who knows? Do you sort of get it? Maybe I'm going to snap your arm and break your arm, the one holding the knife. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not to say I'm a good fighter. Whatever path I choose becomes the path. And if my goal is to break your arm and you let me get a hold of your arm, you better believe, like, I will fulfill my intention. Do you know what I mean? Without hesitation, I will use as much force as I can on the pivot point behind your elbow to snap your arm. That's it. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be all fancy. It's not going to be anything. I just do. Do you sort of get it? Without hesitation. I'm not going to think about your feelings. I'm not going to think about your pain. I'm not going to think about what's going to happen to me. All I'm going to do is grab and snap. Do you sort of get it? Like, that's it. I see the goal I want to achieve. I decide on the action. So, for example, in that situation that someone comes up to me with a knife trying to do severe harm to me, my goal in the situation is to end the threat. The path I choose becomes the only path. I can change that path. Maybe I grab a hold of your arm and then I knee you square in the nuts as hard as I can. I put out about 60, 70 kilos of pressure into your groin. How do you think that's going to feel? Do you know what I mean? Maybe I grab your hand that has the knife and then I push my hand up under and then I just jam it and I jam it and I jam it as many times as I have to in as short a period as time to push that bone into your brain. Like, don't get me wrong, that bone will move. It may take one strike, it may take 100 strikes, whatever. I'm just going to hold the hand with the knife and I'm just going to keep doing that. And you can punch me all you want. You can try and bite me. You can hurt me, whatever you want to do. Like, that's all I'm going to do. Bang, bang, bang. As much as I can, as forcefully as I can. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and try and talk to you and talk you down. Like, it's just going to be extreme violence straight away. That's the thing. Do you sort of get it? Like, it's not about having all these different paths of if they do this, I would do that. If they do this, I would do that. Pick a path, make a decision on the action you're going to take, and just take it repetitively until it becomes the outcome you want. That's it. Do you sort of get it? Like, it's the exact same with everything. It's not a different process for if I'm doing goal achievement to if I'm trying to lose weight, to if I'm trying to become smarter at something. Like, if I identify that I want to learn something, I pick a path of how I'm going to learn it. So for me personally, okay, my way of learning is to consume 1,000 hours of content to get an understanding of a topic. At 10,000 hours of learning, I understand that topic intrinsically, inside and out. The process I go about it is I listen to everyone in the beginning to consume as much general information on the topic. And then as soon as I've got the general information and I understand a bit of the conceptual, like the concept of the information or whatever I'm trying to learn, then I identify who I believe to be the best in that field. And they become who I consume the 10,000 hours from. i.e., I wanted to understand spirituality. So I listened to Sadhguru. Well, I listened to a lot of people to begin with, and then I identified after the first 1,000 hours, Sadhguru, Alan Watts. Do you know? They were two of the main ones. Jordan Peterson has a fair bit of good information on spirituality and understanding it from a psychologist's perspective and the psychology behind it. But do you sort of get it? And they all I listen to. I don't give a fuck, so to speak, about Gandhi. I don't give a fuck about the Dalai Lama. Not to say that they're wrong or anything, but it's just I have limited resources or limited awareness. So I choose whichever one I want and then I go with it. Do you sort of get it? So for like 10 years, that's all I listened to. I consumed a lot of them. There are like tens of thousands of hours of them talking and, listening to speeches and things like that and listening to understanding. I didn't go out there and, for example, like Taoism, I didn't go out and read the Tao Te Ching or whatever it's called. I listened to Alan Watts. He's read it, he's understood it. What he has to say on it, I think is the right thing. I don't think it's for me. I don't think it's, right. There's probably like a Chinese expert who's far more in depth and understands it at a deeper level. Do you know what I mean? But I have limited resources. I don't speak Chinese. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand their language. I don't understand all the different aspects of their language. Do you sort of get it? But I understand English inside and out. So if I have someone who understands Chinese speaking English and explain it in English, it makes it far easier for me to understand the insides and out of the meaning of the language in Chinese. Do you sort of get it? It's very important to get. When we get this, we really start to understand and see that it is in the repetitive action, in knowing that if I keep taking this action, the result will be mine, regardless of the external environment at present, because the external environment is irrelevant, because it's a result of the effectiveness of the actions taken. If I want to have self-belief is a result of the action of me believing in myself and the effectiveness of me believing in myself. Do you sort of get it? Self-belief's not important. The action of me creating self-belief within myself is important. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.